Loop Hero, a game developed by Four Quarters team and published by Devolver Digital. I must say I'm very happy for this studio, and I'm very happy that they found success with Loop Hero, with several small games already under their belt, and they all have their unique themes. Loop Hero really is the hero among their collection. In an era where the marketplace is filled with stunning AAA titles, Loop Hero and the Four Quarters team have set out to carve their own path. Now without further ado, here is the Loop Hero review. Let's break it down. In an age where we are accustomed to seeing stunning AAA titles with next-gen fidelity and complex worlds, we are truly spoiled for choice. And sometimes, just sometimes, we are endowed with an amazing indie title, one that quickly went viral. With its old-school graphics harkening back to a time before massive AAA games, a time that I personally love, and sometimes those games don't age well. It can be very hard on the eyes. And when a new game with an old school feel is made, but it takes advantage of newer technology, well, you can really feel and see the result. Fundamentally, Loop Hero has this old school feel, but every part of it runs like clockwork. The animations are so smooth, and although there are intentional pauses in the active battle time system, they feel so natural, with every battle watching them unfold bringing back memories of old but gold games. It was truly a pleasure. Conversations also have this feeling, the audio playing as each word comes into the dialogue box, showing itself, highlighting which character is talking, and as it goes along there's this rush of nostalgia when I play this game. There's actually an abundance of detail in every part of the game, whether it be the battle screen or the world map. You can always find references to older games or subtle character details, which flesh out the world like this and only serve to help me invest in the game even more. Ever feel like you're stuck in a cycle? That's exactly what this game feels like, except you're not stuck. You want to be in this cycle. This cycle is called a loop, and incidentally that's what Loop Hero is all about. It works like this. You play a hero who has forgotten almost everything. You know you're a hero, you know you have to do hero things, but you have no idea where you are. You set up a camp, and in traditional hero fashion, you go exploring. Except most things in this world are covered by a fog of war. This is where the loop comes into play. By some mysterious power, the hero can remember parts of the world and restore them to the map. This allows for the visiting of restored locales and the plundering of loot. You essentially have one looping road, and everything else is blacked out. Using these memories in the form of cards, you'll restore this world, and with every progressive loop, the world will evolve, becoming harder, and our hero becoming stronger. This card mechanic is really what makes this game shine, and working in a way that adds depth and complexity to an otherwise simple world. For example, restoring a vampire mansion will then go on to trigger a cutscene in which the hero finds out more about the world as he converses with this vampire who clearly has a lot on its mind. This is a simplistic way of describing it. In reality, cards have a huge impact on the gameplay. Let's go over another example. During the vampire interaction, the vampire will state that it's been starving since the start of the apocalypse, which I'll explain in writing the story. Quickly after starting a conversation with it, it loses its mind and it attacks. Later on down the line, when you get the village card, you can actually put it in front of the vampire mansion to trigger an event, which I won't spoil for you. The game is filled with these kind of interactions which have a tangible effect on your playthrough. As the loops go on, you'll collect resources from these different tiles which are then used to make your camp into a thriving village, adding new buildings with new functions and perks as you discover more characters and delve further into the story. Every expedition into the loop eventually ends into a boss fight, which will then allow you to progress to the next act. And these bosses are no pushovers. How do you know when a boss is coming, you ask? Well, there's a bar in the top left hand side of the screen which gradually progresses as you restore the world in your current loop. Each loop is individual, and the cards you draw are somewhat RNG based. Despite being a looping game, you must progress with intention when equipping your hero in the loop. As you go on, you'll discover more equipment which has more stats like evasion, attack speed, crit chance, crit damage, the usual RPG stats. These are pivotal to making a correct build in order to progress through the game. How you build your character determines how long you can stay in a loop for. It's somewhat a battle of attrition as you go on. Enemies will grow organically, becoming tougher, more numerous, having more skills. You can quickly become overwhelmed with enemies if you're not carefully managing the world. In this world, you'll get resources, and then you can drop these resources off in one of four ways. You die, keeping 30%. You retreat when you're away from camp, keeping 60%, or you go back to camp and keep 100%. Now, when you unlock the next class, there is a skill which allows you to drop off 10% of whatever you're carrying on one loop, which is definitely a massive advantage if you're going for a long loop. This dance of managing intricate mechanics and resources is really what helps make this game tick. What I really like about this game is that there's not a smidge of hand-holding past the first tutorial, which in itself is very short. As you progress, you unlock new classes which have their own quirks, strengths and weaknesses, which totally change how you play the game. You have to learn these classes yourselves, figure out where they are very strong. There's no tutorial on them past the tooltips. My advice is just play the first dozen or so loops without looking at any guides, and you'll really appreciate how these things come together from your own exploration of the game mechanics. In a world where everything has been erased and you the hero have no idea where you are, but you have this drive in your belly but no direction, you set off into this abyssal darkness hoping to find some answers. Each step you take brings the world to life. Success so clearly in view, or is it merely a trick of the light? Some kind of dark magic has taken the world to light and everything in it, wiping the slate clean. You as the loop hero seek to restore the world to what it once was, whether it be an uneasing companionship at the fire, or bringing a ghoulish horror low by bringing them into the mud. As your expedition seemed to promise success, more of the world will be restored. There are promising relationships to be made as you restore the world. The very village you set out to build from scratch brings forth warm conversations and more knowledge of the apocalypse. Everyone seemingly in the same position as you, having lost their memories, and with every card you play during your loop, you'll encounter more cutscenes revealing what it's like to live in such apocalypse. Not only from fellow humans, but also from monsters, you'll hear their side of the story. Throughout my playthrough, I was engaged in every part of this story. It pulled me in and it didn't let me go. A battle against insurmountable foes, the odds stacked against you. It's definitely a worn cliche, but the finesse of the story and its mechanics make this a fresh and frankly welcomed take on the hero versus evil storyline. How does it run? It runs like clockwork mostly. It isn't without its bugs, but the devs seem to be super active and they're even adding more content as we speak, which is a massive win. I'm so excited to see their new cards and what kind of interactions they'll come up with. Additionally, they're adding some new font options for those who are having trouble reading the text. There's even a dyslexia-friendly font, which I think is a great addition to any game. They are also currently working on controller support, which for the future is a good thing to look out for, just in case you're like me and I like to play my games with controllers. This game runs smoothly. It does have limited graphic settings for obvious reasons, but you can truly run this on any rig, which is an absolute boon. Sounds. This is like an audio dream. I personally love this kind of soundtrack, and I mentioned it earlier, but it really does harken back to an earlier time where we used our imagination and simple sounds to make stories and interactions. The sound design is excellent, starting off with a peaceful melody as you start your loop, slowly escalating as the loop progresses, providing this sense of urgency. It changes and flows depending on your actions. Each monster has its own sounds, and so do the cards. I loved every second of it, and even as the tension got more palpable, it only served to immerse me more into the game design and what it stood for. The village music is serene and provides a sense of community, and even though there are no voice lines, you can feel it just by listening to the music. Overall, a great representation of the game 4 Quarters Studios is trying to show, and an excellent attention to detail. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in once again. I really enjoyed Loop Hero. Loop Hero is one of those old school grindy RPGs that can give you a lot of bang for your buck. Now this is on PC and browser, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a green light. For those of you who are new to the channel, I'm going to show what that means on the next slide so you can use it as a point of reference. Really guys, the devs are working super hard to bring new cards, new features and accessibility options here. I think we should support them, as any indie game is a small studio, so we need to go ahead and push those to the forefront of the gaming industry and make sure we get these wonderful games out into our hands. Anyways guys, thanks for tuning in once again. I really appreciate all the support. The sub count keeps growing every day and it's really humbling. Thank you so much. I will see you on the next breakdown. See ya.